Medvedev. I'm an instructional designer. Oh, thank you, Kim, for recording. I'm an instructional designer at Georgetown University, and I'm also a faithful member of this group, Instructional Designers and AI in Higher Education. I'm here also today with Kim Brewy, who will help us all facilitate this session. And of course, we have our wonderful presenters today. So today's session was conceived, like this idea was conceived by Larry. Unfortunately, he has to deal with from some family emergency, so he's not able to join us today, but hopefully we will keep this smooth. The idea was to invite fellow instructional designers and give them an opportunity to share what they've done, what they're planning to do in the upcoming semester. So we have a lineup of presenters, and we will keep it like in a light round, very quick, short presentations of some context of what they're doing, the strategies, the learning, and then we will keep 2 minutes for questions. And we're planning for a total of about 5 minutes. So again, welcome everyone. I will pass it to Kim to maybe give some introduction and share the slides if possible.
Absolutely. And thank you, Anya. And I would like to welcome you all again. And just so that we can keep on time, because we have a jam-packed, wonderful, like ID-centered session, I'm just going to start sharing the slides, and hopefully you'll see your name and you'll know what turn, if it's your turn. And we do have a timer on each slide just to try to gently remind everyone to try to keep within your 5 minutes. We love to hear from you, but we have so many people. We're trying to get everyone in on this session. So I'm going to get my slides shared here, and we will begin just very shortly. Let me get in slide mode. Get rid of my stuff here. Are we seeing the slides okay? But for some black boxes, I'm probably trying to get rid of here. Are we seeing this? Yes, thank you,
Yes, we can
Valerie,
see
for the
it.
thumbs up. I can't see. I'm on a tiny laptop.
I
All
should
right.
have put my mic on. Yes, it's perfect.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to move this forward and turn it over to the first person, which I think might be, well, this is a review. Again, we kind of already said this, but we're going to have a 5 minute share, the context, the strategy you used, how it's used for teaching and learning, and we're going to try to leave 2 minutes at the end for Q&A. So that is our plan. Thank you for your smiling face in the background. I really appreciate that, Valerie. So it looks like we are starting with Jennifer Delarme, and I'm excited. Here we go.
That would be me. Hello, all. I'm Jennifer Delarme. I'm an instructional designer in corporate, and I'm also an instructional designer at NC State University. I'm third year doctoral student in their learning design and technology program. So my slide is focused on to use AI or not. I am focusing on the student side of things as an instructional designer. So we use, or I specifically use, and many of my fellow students use these tools that I have listed on the slide for our research, for our projects, for brainstorming, all of that. I also linked, I don't know if we're sending out these slides to everybody afterwards, but I did link two docs, the very bottom. One's for AI and ethics, and one's an educator site. I thought they would be useful resources for anybody who might want them. So specifically for gathering research articles, a lot of us use Elicit and Google Scholar, and this is outside of our regular NC State databases, so like ERIC, EBSCO. We use these AI sites specifically, and I know I use them all the time because I am more of a question-based person. I like to ask the search engine questions versus keywords. And you can do that with Elicit and Scholar, Google Scholar. The next one is Notebook LM. And we use this, I use this specifically for compiling all of my resources into one place for papers or for lesson plans, for jotting down notes, for outlines. It produces so many things. I know in our last AI session, we had mentioned Notebook LM a couple of times, so I know some people are familiar with it. I find it very, very helpful for uploading all of my research that I've already found for paper and then finding the themes amongst them because I know they all relate to each other, but like finding the specific line that's said in that article is really hard. You don't want to have to read back through 800 pages, right? So you can just ask Notebook LM, where is this in this article? And it'll find it for you. For more research, I use Claude AI specifically. I'm not a big ChatGPT person. I use it sometimes, but I'm bigger on Claude AI. I feel like it gives better results. And for APA structuring, it's super helpful. And then the last one is Research Rabbit. We are being encouraged to use that as well as Zotero, but Zotero doesn't have a link, so I couldn't put one on my slide. But that's what I've got as the student side as a doctoral student who's an instructional designer. And I made it before the time.
You did. You certainly did. And I thank you. That was great. Thank you for
Yeah,
that. And we will be sharing the slides out so people can grab these links. All right.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's move to the next person. Oh, I'm trying to keep things moving here.
Are there any questions for Jennifer? I think we have
Oh, I'm
time
sorry.
for that,
I thought
right?
we were going to do that at the end.
Or maybe a
We
bit
can wait till the
after,
end.
right?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thank you for your patience with me as I'm figuring out how to run this thing. So it looks like next is Jessie Chartier. Are you here with us today? And did I say
I
your name correctly?
am. Hi,
Yay.
Kim. Could you do me a
Hi.
favor and close out and reopen the slides? I just have a QR code in there that people can then access
Oh, sure,
for
sure,
the
sure.
document. I appreciate it. I'll move quickly because I know that we got a little bit of time, not a ton. So, hi, I'm Jessie. I am a learning experience designer and instructional designer. They're one and the same. It just depends on who you're talking with. And I focus specifically on how to improve the processes by using AI without kind of stealing into that like ethics problems and bias problems and all that stuff. So that's what I do. I'm brought in to help build courses, but do so in an ethical way. So I will see if I can drop in the QR code when I am done here. But bottom line is that over the past year and a half, I've been working on using AI within instructional design and have discovered that there is a particular framework that works really well if you are building courses, building assessments, and building out any kind of curriculum for your students. And it's to treat the AI as if they're a student themselves. So implementing all of the pedagogical exercises and knowledge bases and methodologies that you already have in your back pocket and applying them to your engagement with AI. So you can see them here. Like some of the key things that work really well with AI is scaffolding information, assessing their understanding, feedback loops, adaptive instruction, asking guided questions. All of those things are really, really useful for engaging with an AI in a way that helps you get the results you need rather than a one-shot prompt that you put a big fat prompt together and you send it out to the ether and you get this thing back. Having more of that context and conversational approach. Thank you, Matthew. Being able to have that with the AI actually creates the background knowledge that the AI can then reference as you continue through your conversations with that particular AI. And as always, make sure that you're using an AI that is approved by your institution, that makes sure that you're not sharing student information within that AI, just all the good ethical practices around that. But you can get pretty far pretty fast. Yes, I can drop in the actual link itself, Heather. I'll do that in just a moment. But the document that you'll see and have access to is a breakdown of my learnings over the past few years. And let me make sure that everybody has capability. People with the link, doing this on the fly, loving it. This is how we roll, right? Um, so you now have access to it. I've just made it public. So there you go. You feel free to use that document as a starting point. I'd love to hear any feedback for it. I'd love to hear what you're using and how this works or doesn't work for your particular situation.
Jesse, thank you, and thank you for your patience. Matthew, thank you for getting that QR code in there and getting the link in there. I tried to reshare. I don't know what I did, so that is great. I know that I didn't start the timer on time, but Are we doing questions when people finish? Or are we waiting till the end? What are we doing there? Do we know?
I think the original plan was 2 minutes for questions after the 3-minute presentation.
We
Are there
still
any
have time
questions for
if
Jesse?
anyone has questions for Jesse.
That's interesting.
We don't have access to the document.
Let me try that again. I apologize, y'all. Let me just make sure that my sharing permissions are on. They're on. If
And the
I can troubleshoot this with the group in the chat if we need to move on. I want to make sure that I give everybody the time that they need.
Yes, and the QR code is also available if you click on the link of this little slide. It's available on slide 4. I think Jesse, you have added that to the slide deck.
Yes,
I
and
don't know why
that is true.
I don't know, my refresh didn't really show that, as you can see, so sorry.
It's all good, Kim. We're doing the best we can today.
We are, but it's great information that we're sharing. Great information. Thank you. Thanks for patience, everyone. Is it all right if I move forward?
Yeah, sure. And if you're not ready to ask your questions to any of the presenters, please jot them down. Hopefully, we'll have some time to address them afterwards.
Here's Valerie.
Okay, hi everybody. Pleasure to be here. I'm the instructional designer at the International Institute for Restorative Practices. So what I have done this summer, starting this summer, is the first time that across the board, all faculty need to state their course level AI policy. So most of our faculty are not excited about AI at all. There is not any expectation that they're going to be teaching this specifically. This is graduate education, so they're teaching the subject matter. But most of them decided that they would like to allow students to freely use AI as long as it conforms to the uh, you know the our standards that are the institutional level standards. So what I did was I made this handout. So for any course that allows free use of AI, and I'm going to drop a link in the chat in a minute. Because I have this available for you as an editable PDF, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So it's 7 pages. First page is just what is our institutional attitude about about artificial intelligence. So obviously you're going to adapt that to your own institution, your own courses. Page 2 is what is generative artificial intelligence? What does it do? What doesn't it do? The third page is about prompt engineering. So this is important because I mentioned I'm from the International Institute for Restorative Practices, which means that all of the examples that I put in here are really specific to that field. So go ahead and you would just adapt your specific examples to whatever that course is, whatever your institution is, you can custom design that. So this is the whole handout is really assuming that people have very little and maybe no experience using GAI. We have adult learners who might be going back to school for the first time in decades. So, and also some younger learners. The fourth page is responsible use of generative artificial intelligence. So what are the kind of best practices for effective use? The next 2 pages are paired. So this is how do you cite it when you use it if you are using it in a project? When do you cite it? And how do you cite it if you're citing it? So that again, you would want to custom make to your own course or your own institution. So, are you using APA formatting? That's what we use. So if you use something else, you'd want to update it. Also, depending on what the field is for your course or your institution, you might put on different examples of the tools. So for us, like there's no coding or anything, there's no computer science. So there's no example of a computer science AI tool in there. And then the final page is learn more about AI. So the purpose of that is to give people a direction to go for where do you go to learn more. But really importantly, remember way back when I said our faculty, by and large, are not real knowledgeable about this, and they don't especially like it. A few of them do, but most of them really don't. So I wanted to steer questions away from our faculty so that here is self-directed learning and give that to the students. So I am going to pop in, blink, here is a link that goes to this exact thing. It is an editable PDF, so you would just download it, make a copy. And if it doesn't work, there is my email, just in case I'm having any kind of a technical difficulty. All right, next.
That was great, Valerie. Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much.
And thanks for the link too. I'm sure we're very appreciative of that information and those PDFs that are editable. Thank you so much. Next, we have Sierra for gamifying generative AI to teach AI fluency. Here we go.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I am Sierra Adair Tatsiwopaape, and I am the instructional technologist for Nevada State University. And so why fluency rather than Gen AI literacy? Literacy signifies understanding. Fluency denotes actually doing something with it. And as we know, employers these days all expect their workers to be Gen AI fluent. So my definition of Gen AI fluency is being able to, number one, prioritize critical and responsible use. In other words, the ability to assess, interact with, and make informed decisions about Gen AI in order to use it appropriately. Number two, assess Gen AI capabilities and limitations, knowing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Number three, advocate for and implement ethical and responsible use. Think Kenny Rogers' song, The Gambler. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run, especially that last one. Number four, employ security and data privacy, which means no uploading personal identifiable information. And number five, evaluate the impact of Gen AI on human interactions. In other words, keep the humans in the loop. And yes, I purposely included responsible use with critical evaluation and with ethical application, because these constitute the most fundamental components of Gen AI fluency. Nevertheless, faculty tend to see Gen AI fluency as just another thing to teach when they don't have time to cover all of the required content as it is. So my solution, gamification. It provides the perfect vehicle to weave Gen AI fluency into your existing courses and your existing content. Integrating Gen AI into games with well-crafted scenarios encourages students to access and expand their knowledge, bridge cultural gaps that lead toward better social understanding, and vital these days, the story can ignite empathy. Gamifying Gen AI also facilitates flexibility as learners adjust to this rapidly evolving technology in a fun and, more important, familiar way. So imagine students solving complex problems in an escape room, and Gen AI is offering helpful, or maybe not so helpful, advice. A discussion on cultural bias and stereotyping, initiated by students curating an exhibit of portraits of professionals in the workplace, painted by Gen AI artists. Novice detectives gathering evidence and checking its authenticity for a criminal case against Gen AI. Healthcare workers faced with patient data breaches by Gen AI hackers. These represent just a few ways the fusion of gamification and Gen AI can foster students' critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills while becoming Gen AI fluent. After all, learning shouldn't focus simply on knowledge acquisition, the know what, at the base of the Bloom's taxonomy pyramid, but also prioritize the development of competencies, the know-how, and a demonstration of performance, the show how. Gamifying Gen AI accomplishes all three of these. Yay, I got my time in. Thank you. And I have my email address as part of the slide. So if you have questions, please send me emails. I love to hear from people.
Thank you, Sierra. I sometimes slip on that slide and then the timer starts over, but you certainly did do that within your time limit. I love some of those game ideas like the detective or the criminal case or like a breach by AI. And these are some great ideas for developing that fluency. So thank you. I got several laughs, but I couldn't find my reactions fast enough to laugh at some of your comments. So thank you. All right, so next up, Rachel. Are you here? Okay. Perhaps Rachel could not make. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, sorry,
There's
I
Rachel.
didn't realize
Hi.
quite where we were.
That's
So,
okay.
anyway, yeah, hello, I'm Rachel Fairborough-Vasca, and I'm an instructional designer at a state university in Ohio. And as far as yeah, the I think the most significant thing that we've done to help the faculty to adapt is we just finished offering a 4 session workshop. So we met once a week for 2.5 hours on Wednesdays. And that was actually, it went really well. We were expecting not to get all that. Oh, is that timer? I haven't had 4.24 minutes. Oh, it's counting down. Okay. Anyway, we weren't expecting to get a whole lot of participants in July. We thought we'd be lucky if we got 10 or 12, but we actually got about 25 participants for each session, which just shows how interested the faculty are in learning about AI. And I thought I could just tell you real quick what the 4 sessions were. What they were. So we had first a session to help faculty understand what AI could do with their course materials. So understand what it can do and understand the extent to which course material could be made accessible to AI. Then in the second week, we talked about assessment, basic principles of learning assessment. And we talked about ways to assess learning that would be less vulnerable to AI shortcuts. Then in the third week, we gave them tools. So we gave them LMS internal tools. So we used Blackboard and also a whole lot of other tools that we've been collecting to help them with the course redesign process. And then lastly, yesterday, they got to discuss all the juicy ethical issues, which was sort of the fun session. And yeah, so we had a discussion activity because I was a little afraid that, people have really strong views about some of the AI topics. And I was afraid that things might kind of become imbalanced among, participants. So you can click there. We just had a sort of not a game per se, but a discussion activity where they got in small groups and they had scenarios, sort of thematically organized scenarios of what might happen with AI. And then the game or the gambit was what comes next. So they would think about this scenario, what comes next. And what a lot of them said was, well, this is already happening right here at our institution. This is already here. So let's see, I have 2 more minutes. You can see on my slide the tools that we've most, well, I'll put them in the chat afterwards. I'll put the links in the chat. Sorry. So you can see on the slide the things we've really been sort of encouraging faculty to try, among other things, social annotation. The reason being that, well, so many reasons. Social annotation, it's engaging for students. It is a little bit less vulnerable to direct, drop in the chatbot and produce answers, which often can happen with things like discussion boards. And yeah, so the faculty, I will say that a lot of them came away saying, oh, they're going to try, having students do podcasts and Padlet is just a personal favorite tool. They could see the utility of that, virtual field trips. So yeah, I think that's about all I had to share, but I'll put the links in the chat afterwards.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, and very much appreciate that. And I think social annotation, yeah, is one of those activities. We use hypothesis a lot at my college. So thanks for sharing that. And we'll move on to the next person. It looks like Dr. Ali Sokin, if I'm saying that
Hello,
correctly.
everybody.
There you are, sir. Yeah.
Everybody did a great job with timing, so it's time to show a bad example. Uh, so it's great to be here. My name is Ali Sokan. I'm working as a faculty consultant at University of Oregon. This is my first year. I got my PhD in teacher education and curriculum studies, and AI sort of became also in like a research interest for me. And what I'm trying to do here today, like. Um, I updated the slides there. You can't see it on the screen here, but like I title it as AI assignments and assessment because that's something that is coming up a lot in our conversation with faculty, and it's something I want to mention here. And like one project I want to highlight is the U of O AI health check at like one of our amazing colleagues, Kelly Arian, did like a service with a few undergrad students offering this service to social science and humanities core ed faculty. And what they did was like they asked people to send their assignments and they run them through like different AI tools and shared it with the faculty and offered some suggestions. Those suggestions are in the slides as well. Like I hope it's working. Those suggestions are like I will mention them a little bit. So they did like they in the spring term they checked 35 assignments across 24 courses and offered some context specific feedback. So one thing they made it clear that like and assignments still have high quality but can still be AI vulnerable. So they just like they create some recommendations I shared in the link. Like one is like simple, like test your assignment. Tools are moving really fast, and an assignment you used last year might not be that strong this year. And like reground assignments in purposeful learning, make it transparent and intentional choices about AI use, and communicate with students about how you like just having a policy statement is not enough. Like how you communicate with students is important. And like just if you have like a hybrid, like if you allow certain tasks to be done with the help of AI, just explain why you make those decisions are really helpful. And like and show them like model them like what is the acceptable use of AI in your discipline or in your class. It's something we hear a lot from students. Like last term, we had an AI student panel, and it's one of the common themes that came from 5 different students. Like, we want professors to use us like what is acceptable. Like, we want them to model it. After those, I want to highlight two things that coming up a lot around AI integration. One is about transparency, one is about accessibility. The transparency, like the tilt transparency in learning and teaching is a great model to make assignments more transparent to the learners. And it's basically tells you to share the purpose, the task, and the criteria for success of your assignments to make it more clear to your students, like explaining why you're doing this assignment and like describing potential steps. And people are saying that like sometimes, and it's a fair point that like when you make it more transparent, it becomes more vulnerable to the AI misuse. But like transparency is a foundational aspect of teaching, and it's an equity issue. So while you are like trying to make your assignments AI proof, don't forget about transparency. The second piece that we think we should keep that in mind, at least, it's running around my head a lot, is like accessibility. We know people are just like moving back to in-class activities and, more oral exams and stuff. So it raises some accessibility issues. Like you can go back to those practices to ensure like students are doing the actual work. Just like don't forget that accessibility piece. So my last minute, I want to mention that to like that the opposite of cheating book that I mean, I'm still reading the book, but I listen to podcasts and like it's really amazing like how it's eliminating and like that they are basically saying cheating is not new. So now we have a new reason. The AI is the reason, but like people are cheating under certain situations. And what we can do, like we can, and a favorite quote I like from that, like if we treat students like assignment factories, they will behave like assignment factories. So I really like that quote, and like it's important why we are here to learn and how we are assessing. So, and like the part that they are highlighting is like when a cheating situation happens, like don't take it personally and try to talk to your students about understanding why it's happening and like follow the institutional policy. It's something like people don't talk a lot about like what happens in case of like a misuse around AI. So I just wanted to highlight that. I know I told you, I said, like, I'm terrible with time management in general. There's just one more thing I want to mention is like, I kind of feel like the bad news is like, things are moving so fast and it's so easy in a world where we like, everybody's talking about efficiency, like shortcuts, and like people tend to offload things to AI. That's the bad news aspect of it. But the good news is that what I'm hearing from students that they still want to learn. They want like they just feel like they're falling behind and they want faculty to help them in this process. So, and they also appreciate the meaningful interaction in class activities and community building. So all the effective pedagogical strategies we know are way important than ever. And I always use earthquake as a metaphor. Like I think AI is sort of like an earthquake and shaking the foundations of teaching and learning. And if we like build trust and integrity in our classrooms, so we can make sure learning is still joyful and fun, and we are in this together. Thanks for giving me this space and being okay with my poor time management skill.
You were absolutely fine with your time management. And thank you so much for sharing this great information and points of view in the podcast and the books. And yeah, transparency and trust are still important. So I really appreciate you, Dr. Ali. And we will go to the next person here. And I believe that's John. There you are, John. Hey, I think most people know you, not personally.
Glad to be here. John Apolito, University of Maine, teach new media. I was really frustrated in trying to understand the climate impacts of AI online because everyone is partisan. You're either, oh, it doesn't matter, it's really nothing compared to other activities, or it's the apocalypse and we're all going to die. People were throwing around different units that I didn't understand. How do you compare, joules to watt hours to micro hamburgers? So I decided to make a tool to help. And in the next slide, you'll see I'm going to take a note from Sierra and gamify the next 5 minutes. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that I have an assignment for you. Visit whatusesmore.com, and I'm going to post that both the link and a QR code in the chat right now. And what I want you to do is follow these steps and see if you can complete the challenge. First, you choose an AI activity for the first task and a non-AI activity for the second. So you'll see an interface in which you have two tasks you can choose. They're everything from generating an image to code to text to watching Netflix. I just updated the app in the last half hour. Hopefully it'll still work with things like scrolling TikTok for a half hour or being on a Zoom call. And then adjust the parameters until you get rough equivalents. See if you can create essentially the same impact from two different tools. You might change the amount of time or the quantity or what season or what climate. For example, Arizona versus Maine have very different impacts on data centers. And then post your finding to the chat. You can either take a picture of the screen and post it, or you can just say, like, I found this was equivalent to that. And let's see if you can do that in 5 minutes. I will also warn you, as the site itself will, that all of this is based on rather incomplete and surmised data from a very untransparent industry when it comes to climate impacts. But we're doing our best to try to put some numbers to the footprints of these different activities. All right, so we have the first one, a couple of them. So Chris says paragraph of AI text was equivalent to charging a smartphone once. I'm assuming that that's with standard sort of settings for those. We've got some screenshots, including, if I zoom in here, we have, see if I can make those bigger. Looks like watching Netflix for an hour, with the local energy source being coal powered, like West Virginia, is equivalent to, okay, is way bigger than a paragraph of AI text. So your goal is to see if you can make those two bars the same, right? Or close to the same. That is instructive, right? We don't necessarily think of Netflix as being a big climate drain, but it turns out to be a lot more than generating a text of AI. Let's see if someone found the footprint metric in the graph Alex asked. You have several choices. You can choose essentially light bulb minutes, which are watt hours. That's the amount of time it takes to run one light bulb, an incandescent light bulb, for a minute. You can choose CO2, grams of CO2 in the atmosphere equivalent, or you can choose joules if you're like, an environmental scientist. Charging 25 smartphones, generating a 3-second AI video. That's a pretty good comparison, quite interesting. Here's another one. Looks like a paragraph of AI text in a kind of a coal powered environment. This is Jesse's, was equivalent to, if you used a, let's see, it's a little hard to read the.
John, I was just looking at the difference between the local data center climate. So everything else is the same. I was just curious to see if the climate affect how a climate affected it.
Okay. Yeah. So it can be up to, let's see, I think it's 2 or 3 times. I don't remember exactly the difference. Effectively, I think it's 2 times if you're, there's a lot of data centers being built in Arizona, even in the United Arab Emirates. That's the absolute worst place you want to develop from a cooling perspective, and especially with water use, but also the electricity required to run fans and so forth. And even though the numbers I'm giving you are sort of, global sort of impacts, if you will, on climate change, local impacts can be much more severe, particularly if you're in an area with drought. We're seeing that now in South Texas and in Chile, where data centers are eating up local water. We also have another one here, not equivalent, but surprising. 3 seconds AI video from image, zooming for 1 hour with 10 people. That is kind of interesting. Yeah, zooming is something that we don't necessarily, think of as a energy big energy footprint, but it does have that, especially if everyone's running, on a big monitor and, all videos are turned on. I must say that these figures pale comparison to a lot of other non-digital tasks. I did a calculation that flying from New York to LA, one person, one way, is the equivalent of writing 100 books with ChatGPT, zero shot. So they wouldn't be very good books, but you could write 100 of them for the climate impact of one way to LA from New York. Zooming with 10 people for an hour is the largest bar. Yeah, that's my experience as well. 24 Google searches to one AI paragraph prompt. Yeah. Depending on the conditions of your prompt, that sounds about right. Of course, this is a non-AI Google search. And as you probably know, typing -AI into the search box will kind of get you one of those. Otherwise, you're stuck with using AI for Google as well. Yeah, so I'm not sure where I am with time, but I appreciate everybody posting comments in there, and I would love to, hear suggestions for feedback or ways to use this in classroom. I think that sort of game that I just gave you is my kind of go-to technique to use with students, and it's not really about pretending that we know definitive numbers because we don't, but more like getting students to understand that what the factors are that affect the footprint we're having, the impact we're having on these tools, and also trying to make sense of some of the units that they might see when they go look up an article online.
John, thank you. And I don't think we have any more speakers, so we do have the rest of this time to sort of have an open discussion, but I'll double check those slides here because I certainly don't want to leave anybody out who may be here and have a presentation to do. I wanted you to know that in one of the courses I'm redesigning, we are using this tool in a module for students to look at the ethical implications. And when you mention non-digital activities, that's how I'm kind of like making it okay in my head what I'm doing. Cause like, well, I'm plant-based. I'm kind of vegan. Well, I'm mostly vegan. I'm like, well, that reduces my carbon footprint a little bit. I wonder if that offsets my AI use. So I really like this tool and have already been promoting it to my faculty at my college. So I'm excited to hear you talk about it and how you use it here today and to see other people's outputs from what their comparisons. It's really cool. So are there other people here who am I missing any slides? Because if I go to the next slide, I'm seeing, I believe, well, it won't go forward. Might be the last slide. See if it goes back. All right, well, that's not working. I'm going to stop share and come back.
Yeah, I think we heard from all of the presenters. I just added one slide at the very end of the slide deck that you all have with the resources. I tried to pull together the resources that were shared in the slides, but if I miss something, that could be a space for us to keep the resources that have been shared outside of the slides that presenters prepared. I know people ask for resources from the presenters, Rachel, Valerie, and I hope I captured those, but if I didn't, please feel free to add. Yeah, and I think we have about 15 minutes to ask questions, to discuss any of the topics that were shared. Valerie, please go ahead.
Yeah,
I just wanted to jump in real fast. John, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, the environmental impact has always been a really big concern of mine, and I know it's basically impossible at this point to calculate anything, but even just having some sort of a basic idea, because it feels like globally we're just sort of giving a big shoulder shrug, like, hey, we know that this is a big problem, but we still need to move forward with it. Yeah, globally, not just in this room. And so that's been a real big concern of mine. So thank you so much for having a visual on that. I really appreciate you sharing it. Thanks.
We had over 130 some people at one point, and still over 100 people are here. And so again, if you have resources to share, we'd love to hear from you and or would love for you to post those in the slides. Let's share the link to the slides again. Make sure everybody has that too.
Well, if you're still thinking about the questions, I think I've jotted down one for Valerie as she was sharing this resource for the faculty members. That this is something that I'm also in my day-to-day job doing all the time. So I'm just curious for my own sake, like what are the like best practices with the something the questions that come out of this conversation as you're sharing those resources with them as they are articulating their own course level, course specific policies.
Right. So the handout is meant to be more general. But the best practices is using AI, generative AI, feeling as a tool that it's not going to be. I said it's a tool, not a magic wand. Making sure. So the second and third, there's verifying the information and prioritizing your voice. Those I paid special attention to because I noticed that there had been a couple of specific issues that came up with students who I don't think that they were trying to be like, oh, I'm going to cheat my way through something. I think they're like, oh, I've heard of this chat GPT. Let me try to use it. And it crashed and burned. I mean, it was looking for references that ChatGPT just made up, using ChatGPT for responses in the discussion forum, which were so far off the mark that all the other students in the class thought that they must have misunderstood the entire assignment. So just, taking what I was aware of that faculty had said were issues and thinking, well, if these students were having a problem with those, then probably others were. So trying to make it really accessible for people to understand, their initial steps for using the technology.
Thank you, Valerie. I see in the chat, Nancy was asking Rachel if she happens to have the details of her 10-hour summer workshop in AI resilient course design. I wanted to make sure I got that question out there. So thanks,
Yeah,
Valerie, for letting me kind of jump in there.
yeah, I have the details. I wonder how I should share it though. So what we did was, well, I created 4 Padlets full of like a treasure trove of resources and guides and things for the faculty, articles, everything topical tools, that sort of thing. Um, so I mean, if you email me, I can share that with you. So, and I thought
So
I'd put a
either
few tips in the
email
chat.
Rachel, or if Rachel, if you have any links to any of the things any of your Padlets or anything that you can share, please put them in our in that shared slide deck that we have there, please.
Okay.
As well as maybe put your email in the chat there so that Nancy can reach out personally to you if she'd like. And John, I see in the chat that Sarah's asking, are there any other studies besides the Ritchie article that you shared that might provide some more perspective or balance of perspectives, if you will?
Yeah, so one thing that might be useful would be I post all of the links to studies that I've used to create the um, this calculator. And this, I'm trying to sort of argue why some studies are better than others or more updated, whatever. So I'm just posting that right now. The calculator actually runs off of this Google Sheet, but you might give your students the assignment of sort of reviewing these sources and evaluating them themselves or creating their own sort of judgments based on them. And you'll see the different tabs in this sheet for the original source versus the calculation versus conversions, that kind of thing. And I just posted that to the chat. So I'm especially eager to know like how people might use this in a classroom. I I'd be curious to see if someone has a clever, other kind of game or contrast, like, comparing the results of this tool with a different source and sort of evaluating the, truth value of either one. And again, could be not just for students, but also faculty.
A question. Unless someone is speaking right now, and I'm not hearing anything.
No, it's fine.
So my question, so what I'm really excited about right now is I finally got access to AI agents, because I'm only paying $20 a month. I can't pay more. So I recently got access to uh, ChatGPT's agent mode. But just like at the beginning, when we first, the public got access to these large language models, I remember, and I feel like an idiot, but when I remember back in fall of 2022, when I first tried ChatGPT 3, whatever it was, I actually thought, I'm embarrassed to say, but like, what's the point of this? Because I just couldn't comprehend of all of the uses right away. So likewise with the agents, when I first tried it, which was like 2 days ago, that's when I got access. I thought, well, how is this all that much different from what I already have access to? I'm sure it is different. But so my question for all of you is, have you been using AI agents and what good use cases have you found?
I would like to say that the evolution of this tool, this platform is insane because I was presenting on things that are no longer relevant just a year ago. For example, if you look at the GOLEs that David Wiley talks about, the generative open learning environments, he used to call them OELMs, and I presented on OELMs, and then he changed it to GOLEs. And we've moved from, RAG to prompting. Everybody wants to be a prompter, go to school to learn how to prompt. Then it's like, just iterate. Now it's like agentic AI. So it is fast moving. That is for sure. Does anybody have experience that they can speak to for Rachel? I know that there are a ton of GPTs in the sidebar over there. I've been recommending to folks in one of the courses that I facilitate that they experiment with. And I know that Jason Galea from Berkeley, UC Berkeley, is really fantastic about experimenting with these kinds of things and then sharing them freely. And I know that there's a template to create your own sort of GPT or bot, so that custom bot. This was one of our sessions, number 12 from this group actually is I can post that in the link here. So I do know that, but I know we have experts in this room beyond my level who probably have more to share.
I haven't tried this, but I read a couple of posts of people who tried, and specifically they tried this use case of assigning the agent to complete an online asynchronous course, complete the quizzes, complete even the discussion posts on the user behalf. And that, of course, for me personally, who is working 100% on the online asynchronous courses, poses a huge question about how do we think about assignments, how do we think about design, so that's just a Kim, you mentioned that the speed is insane. Yes, the speed is insane, and the scale, I think, also is. And I don't think we even had a time and space to comprehend all this. But I'm just putting out there that's something like the potential ability of the AI agent to complete the online courses on behalf of the student is tremendous.
And I
Maybe
appreciate the links being shared in the chat here. I don't know if you're all capturing these, and we will again try to get them in the slides and see if we can make sure we have a nice list here at the end. But yeah, if you're even in Chat GPT and you look on your left sidebar, there are GPTs aplenty over there, and there are so many GPTs, I don't even quite know where to begin sometimes. So I don't know.
I have a question related to agents, which is some of you may have seen the experiments by people like Anna Mills and Leon Furs, where they're assigning an agent to do homework for an online class. And, I teach some distance learning asynchronous classes, and I was in a conversation this morning about what the heck to do about this. And I'm curious if folks have suggestions.
I have a thought, but it's actually similar to what Ali Sirkin said there at the end. And I think it's sort of idealistic, but the thing is that if we get to the point where an AI agent can just be sent into the LMS to complete the coursework, at that point, to just completely do it, that's where, Ali, you were saying that it's important to focus on, like the ultimate meaning of learning, right? So I think the solution, it would be ideal if we could motivate students to actually, we could have learning that they wanted to do, learning activities that were motivating, and we had that student buy-in so that they wanted to do those things. So that's a big ask. But if we get to that point where an AI agent can just independently do the work for someone completely independently, then I think that will have to be the solution. I know that what's his name, Philip Dawson in Australia. He and his colleagues have been doing work about integrity of assessments, and they are saying it's all about invigilating. So live proctoring in person, which I think seems, I don't like that idea, but I don't think they've come up with, there is a different solution. I don't know what the solution is, but I would like it to be an idealistic one.
Thank you, Rachel. And, as instructional designers, we're very flexible and say, hey, we need to redo how we do assessment then. But how is the question, a good question. If you can make a chat GPT take your whole class for you, then what value does that class have? No offense to anybody who made that class. So what are we trying to do here? So I think it's a great question to kind of end on because we are getting to the top of the hour. Unless there's somebody who would really have something they need to share or say, I think we might want to try to start shutting this down for today. What do y'all think?
Sounds good. I just wanted to thank our presenters once again for sharing your knowledge, sharing your wisdom, sharing the resources. Thank you, Kim. Doing wonderful job keeping time and keeping everyone on track and making sure it runs smoothly. We're recording, so we will share all the resources that were collected, the slides, the recording afterwards. And thank you everyone for your participation and thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Yes, thank you so much. And give us a little time to gather all this. Give us a week or so. We'll try to get a nice package together from this session. So thank you all so much, so much.